Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices.
Hello everybody and welcome to the show. So in today's video, we're talking about Nigerian players that could be switching nationalities to play for Nigeria, talking about transfers of a young Nigerian prospect to one of Europe's oldest and biggest clubs. And of course, we'll be talking about the new signing, Nigerian striker joins championship side, and of course, Nigerian defender scores a goal for Rangers. So we'll dive straight into it. So let's go. First off, I'm super excited to bring this news to you. If you've heard it already, maybe on my Instagram page or my other social media handles as well, maybe you've got the news from there or from other outlets, but whichever way you've got it, I'm super excited to bring it to you today, and I'd like us to have a discussion about that. So let's go. Chizaram Ezenwata, Nigerian England youth international, wonder kid for Chelsea, got tons of goals for Charlton Athletic before joining Chelsea's under 15 or under 16 sides, and has been with the club ever since. I think he signed his first professional contract yet. Not quite sure on that one, but he's been on fine form, super scintillating form for Chelsea's youth sides. And just to say, I'll be bringing a reaction video on the player to you. So just keep your eyes peeled for that one on the channel. Keep your eyes peeled for that one on the channel. And why I'm excited for this player is because he is phenomenally talented, and it's not someone that you've had to wait for maybe England not to have interest in the player, and then that's when you see Nigerian, the NFF now being interested. So he's a top player, and super excited that he's agreed to play for Nigeria. So good news in that regard. And I think according to reports that he could end up being part of the under 20 team for the World Cup in Chile, and that's very good news. So maybe do we see a situation where he gets to play for? Do we see a situation where he plays as a striking partnership with Ayodele? That would be nice to see in a 4-4-2. Although 4-4-2 seems to be a dying formation, but either way, it would be nice to see both of them competing for that first team spot, that starting spot at the Under 20 World Cup in Chile. So one of those opinions are in that regard. But for me, I'm super excited to see what happens. So I'm trying to check out something. I'm super excited to see what happens, see how that shakes down. So Chizaram Ezenwata scored 12 goals in 24 games. That's one goal in every other game. And this was a player I talked about a while ago, where I talked about him and I tweeted about him rather on X, and people didn't really resonate with the player. But there you have it. He's now set to play for Nigeria. That's brilliant news for me, brilliant news for you as well. Hope you're excited about it. So this is what we have in the reports. So highly rated Chelsea team forward Chizaram Ezenwata has dumped the chance of continuing with the under-17s of England after accepting an invitation from the Nigerian Football Federation to team up with the under-20 team of Nigeria. The 16-year-old has played 4 times for England under-17 level with 2 goals, but he has now decided to pursue an international career with Nigeria, hinted by his father when they met with the Super Eagles coach Eric Chell in London during the Unity Cup tournament. So those pictures made the rounds, and I think they're also in this report as well. So they're also in these reports as well. So nice one that is done, nice one that is playing for Nigeria, but there's something that's happened now. The fact that he's agreed to play for Nigeria under 20 doesn't immediately mean that um, it's not doesn't automatically mean that the possibility of him, you know, deciding to remove this. Yeah, the fact that he decided to play for Nigeria under 20 doesn't automatically mean that he may not decide to play for England at the senior team level. So the hardest part of the job is done. You've got him to commit his future to Nigerian Super Eagles, to Nigerian football system as it is. So now is to get him committed to playing for the country by how you treat him and how you manage his progression. Now, what do I mean by how you manage his progression? Fair plays, you've invited him to the under 20s. Now, after the under 20 World Cup is done, you don't just say, oh, he's done well, let's forget about it. You keep tabs with him, you monitor his performances for the for Chelsea's PL2 side, FA Youth Cup sides, and see how he progresses. And also, don't be afraid right now to include him in some friendly games for the Nigerian Super Eagles. Now, I'm not saying if you include him in game for the Nigerian Super Eagles, he should come and compete with Victor Osimhen for a starting spot or Tola Rokodare or the likes. But what I mean is he can be in certain games, be on the bench and come in for 5 minutes, 6 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and that will go alongside the likes of Ayodele Korabo as well, not to forget those players. So when things like that happen, when things like that happen, then you know the player begins to get used to the fact that yes, this team, this country, they like me, they're really interested in my progression, and you don't just abandon him. Yeah, this is fantastic, this is my opinion. Let me know what you think in the chats. I will definitely get back to talking about this one. So definitely get back to talking about this one. So another news to talk about is a player I talked about his supposed transfer at that time, rumor transfer at the time that he could be joining Juventus, one of European big clubs. So that was a possibility. We had that talk about it, and now he's officially joined the club. He's officially signed till 2030. He signed on loan with an option, of making it permanent. And so he signed from Vienza. So we'll share this on here and then go ahead and then share this instead. Do here. Mhm. Yeah, so let's share this here now. So that's it. So it's Alvin, the first pick of Alvin Okoro after signing with Juventus contract until 2030, 1+4. He will play for Juve next gen. Deal completed by agency 11 Elite. So good move overall for the player, in my opinion. Good move, and hopefully he gets signed because that's the only thing I can say I may have against this deal. Overall, good move. Obviously, joining a team like Juventus, that's a brilliant move, in my opinion. In terms of his development, it would really help. And the fact that he's playing for such an illustrious club, that opens up a lot of possibilities for him. Now, the only thing I have about this is one, he's 20 years old. So for a 20-year-old player, you're thinking any club is being signed to, you actually get to play for the first team or the senior team of that club. But according to the reports, according to what we see here, he will play for Juventus next gen, which is like the feeder team for the main Juventus Serie A team. So what we'll be hoping and praying is that he actually plays well. He's a very good player. He scored 30, he scored 20 goals and came up with 3 assists in 50 appearances. Yeah, in 60 appearances for Primavera side, Valencia. So he knows where the back of the goal is. He's not super prolific at this time, but you can appreciate that with a young player. He's still developing, So he has everything it takes. Hopefully, he performs well at Juventus to actually play for the main team. But on the flip side of it as well, if let's say things don't work out well with Juventus, the fact that he's gotten to play for them could mean he could maybe make moves to, other top clubs as well. Because once he's scouted by teams like Chelsea, Juventus, Manchester United, Arsenal, and Liverpool, the likes, teams see you that you have something. And therefore, even if it doesn't work out at that club, which I'm hoping that it does work out, then you can always go to other big clubs. So good move for him, good move for him. And just like with Chizaram Ezenwata that has now committed his international future to Nigeria, this is another player. When you look at him, I'll be doing a reaction video as well so that you can get to know more about the player, see his skills, see his abilities, what he's all about. One thing I can say about this player, because I've seen a couple of videos about him, he is not just a skillful player. He's got that combination of physicality and skill, which is a rare combination because usually you see players who are super skillful, highly technical, but not very physical and can't really, match up with the physicality, of that they may face from, defenders and opposing players. But he can match that, and he has his man body fully. He's 20 years old, so you shouldn't be all too surprised with that one. So good news overall that he's moved to Juventus. So definitely, if you have any questions, you have any contributions to make, leave it in the chats, and definitely I'll get there and we can have a discussion about it. So let's take this off. Now, want to talk about a player that has been signed by Championship side Hull City. It is David Akintola. David Akintola, so he's a striker. He's been about. He's been in Turkey. He's scored lots of goals, and now he's joined Hull City. So it's a good move for him. Now he's 29 years old. I think this move is the kind of move that puts him, in the sights of Eric Chill, the head coach of Nigerian Super Eagles. And the good thing with the club is joined, despite the fact that it is, a championship club. I think they were close to qualifying for or gaining promotion rather to the Premier League a couple of seasons, 2 seasons ago. They were close. They just missed out on it. But hopefully, with his help, with his contribution, maybe they're able to make that move to, the Premier League. So congratulations to him. That's a good move. And a lot of people will be saying, why didn't he, go to Premier League club? It's not easy. And the way Premier League clubs, value Nigerian players, sometimes it's not how we value Nigerian players for one. And then as well, sometimes the clubs where the players play, because of the money resources available to lots of Premier League clubs, they don't really look at Turkish clubs, really look at Albanian clubs and things like that. So it's when you've made that step up, maybe from the Albanian club to a Belgian club, sometimes maybe to a French club, and then you begin to draw interest, or a German club, then you begin to draw interest from clubs in English football. So he's gone to Hull City now, 29 years old. I feel he still has a lot to give. He's got pace, he's got the power, he's got finishing, and I just hope that he's not been signed as some sort of backup. I hope he's been actually signed as someone who's ready to come in now and contribute now. And I believe he can also come in and contribute. So, fair play with that move. What are your thoughts and opinions on this one? What do you think about the player? What do you think about his move? For me, super excited. Let's see what he does there. Hopefully, he can crack the 20 goals mark, and that could see him, move up to the Premier League. Maybe, hopefully, with Hull City. But if not with Hull City, maybe with another newly promoted side in the 2026-2027 season, or maybe you could even get a move this January. Just depending on how well he plays. But overall, fine move for the player. And it was one that hit me by surprise. Now, Nigeria creates lots of strikers, produce lots and lots and lots of strikers, and obviously not all of them can be part of the Nigerian Super Eagles. But one thing is, an eye should be kept on these players, and players should be invited to the Nigerian Super Eagles based on merit. So by that I mean, if he goes to Hull City, scores 5 goals in, let's say, 15 games, then he hasn't done enough. But if he goes in, performs very well, gives you maybe 20, let's say 15, 16 goals in 20 games, then I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to see a situation where um, he is dropped and someone like maybe an Ahmed Musa finds his way there, or someone like what's his face, Alimi, Sikiru Alimi finds his way there. You don't want that. I don't want that. If he goes to Hull City and crushes it, and of course, your number one striker would be, your Victor Osimhen, would be your Tolu Arokodare, the sort of players. Of course, you're not complaining about that one, right? Yeah. But if you now have someone who's performing at championship level, scoring tons of goals, and then you now put Sikiru Alimi ahead of him, that's something you don't want to see. If the big boys like the Victor Osimhen, if they keep performing, then that's fine. And of course, there's a news I saw today I was taken aback a bit, and that's about Victor Boniface, right? So Victor Boniface has been demoted by his new coach. I'll see if I can find that and bring it up for us to discuss. Um, has been demoted by his new coach Eric Ten Hag. So this is really weird to me. How has that happened? How has it happened? How has that happened? Where has that come from? So this is where we got it. Things broke by Nigeria Scouts. Follow them on X if you're on X. So I'll just share this on my screen right now. It took me aback. Like, how has that happened? Now I know. Let me see what's in the chat there. Any update on Chelsea front share sponsor? Yasim, no update in that regard. No update in that regard. So I'll share this screen now. So share screen and bring this up here. Share it on here. So this took me aback, really. So how in the world has this happened? So Eric Ten Hag has reportedly demoted Victor Boniface from Bayer Leverkusen first team. This is crazy to me. So you're having the likes of Sheik ahead of him? That's madness. And then I think someone in these comments went on to ask, the AI on X if that was true, and it was confirmed. I think I also have to check somewhere else. So this is what was said here. So this is what it said. So yes, reports from Build. So this according to Build, according to Build, it's a very reputable that now. So yes, reports from Build and others confirm Erik ten Hag, now Bayer Leverkusen manager, has ranked Victor Boniface as third choice behind due to fitness issues from injuries and overexertion. He's still in the first team, but he's behind Sheikh and Kofane. Kofane, that's the kid. If I'm not mistaken, that's the kid, a Cameroonian youngster that is signed. If he's behind both of them, and that's a problem for me now. That's a problem. Fitness issues, overexertion. Where is that talk even coming from? Like, where is that talk coming from? Let's check Kofane. Kofane, it's a child, isn't it? It's a young player. A young player. So he has now been demoted to third choice striker. Now, when that happens at the club, I think what you should do right now for Victor Boniface is to begin to consider your exit options. No need to fight anybody, no need to argue so much about anything, drag anything. I think is to begin to consider your options. That means the coach has shown his hands. He can come up with a lot of excuses. Like when Xabi Alonso was the coach of Bayer Leverkusen, right? He used to play him. When Victor Boniface would get injured, he would obviously be out of the team, receiving treatment and all that. When he recovered, he would come back and become part of the team. But this time around, he's just been demoted to third choice striker. So I think if I'm Victor Boniface, I'll begin to consider my way out of the club. So if you just joined the stream, thanks for joining. If you're new, you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. That mean a lot. That would mean a lot to me. Also, share this video to people if you will love content like this. But the first thing we talked about on this video, we talked about Chelsea, youngster Chelsea wonder kid Chizaram Ezenwata committing his international future to Nigerian football. So he will be playing with the under-20s, going to Chile in the under-20 World Cup at Chile. So that is big news, big news. He is super prolific, scored tons and tons of goals for Chelsea, for Charlton, and then now Chelsea. So what I'm thinking, Nigeria think about going with a 4-4-2, where both of them, as Ayodele Parabo alongside Chizaram Ezenwata, will play as a striking in a striking partnership, or would it be something where it becomes an all-out competition between both young players? For me, either way, I'm fine. I'm fine with it because you need healthy competition. I said about Chelsea, I've said about other teams, I've said about Nigerian Super Eagles. You need healthy competition. You need to look over your shoulder and see someone that can take your plate, that can take your dinner. Because you need that. Because I think in life, in business, in sports, in football, whatever you're doing, you need a sense of jeopardy. You need a sense of, if I don't act right, if I don't step up to the plate, if I don't take my position seriously, someone else can take it from me. So it's good that he's in the team and he's a top quality player. And why I'm super excited about this is, I said it previously, just for those who are just joining in, it's not one of those ones where, England has toyed with him, Spain has decided not to use him, then he comes to Nigeria as a fallback option. He has chosen Nigeria as his first option. So that's what makes it super exciting for me. And he's a top rated youngster. And then I've also said the fact that you've signed him doesn't mean the fact that he's agreed to commit his international career to Nigeria doesn't mean it's done. What it means is, yes, he gets to play, but you monitor his progression, you keep tabs on him, you keep tabs on his development, both personally, physically, and career-wise. So you integrate him in the team, just like I've spoken about Ayodele Parabo. You find ways to integrate him to the national team. And I'm not saying he comes in and benches Osimhen. That's madness. Or benches Tolu Kodare. Not happening. But 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes in some sort of friendly games as well. Maybe AFCON qualified for, World Cup qualified for, and you have a friendly game where you can have a huge squad of maybe 40 odd players. This sort of players can be involved. And then when you get these players involved, then, right, they know they're part of the system. They know they're part of the team. They know you really care about them. And that's what it takes to get these players really, really, absolutely, committed to the team. Now, for me, we've got Chizaram Ezenwata committed. The next one, I think, should be Rio Ugo Moha. That should be the next one. That should be the absolute next one. That should be the absolute next one. Who is this? Where does this one come from? Stop talking lies. What are you talking about? Who are you? Please buzz off. I don't know who that person is. Several reports, several outlets have made these reports. So you can go check it. Own Goal has talked about it. It's on there. I think SoccerNet NG as well talked about it. So I think Pulse Nigeria have talked about it as well. So I don't know what you're talking about. Talking lies, that's what we're doing here. If you okay, good on you. Good on you. There are no rumors about this. Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Uh, so rather than coming on to ask a question to have clarification, you choose to come on here to insult someone. That's not something I'm not going to abide. So cheerio, cheerio. So I'll just bring that up again. I'm not just saying things. It's actually on here. So this is on goal Nigeria. So share this again. So I'll share my screen again. I'm going to give that person time of day. Share my screen again. So this is on here. So this Chizaram here. He's with the head coach of Nigerian Super Eagles, 12 goals in 24 games. Chelsea team striker Ezenwata quits England for Nigeria under 20. So seen that one. We've seen that one. So we've seen that he is committed to Nigeria. And then maybe we go again and check what do you call them? So connect. NG. NG. So for me, it's really good news. Good news, in my opinion. You know, because it's always nice when you get players in. I wouldn't say in his prime because he's still a young, very young player, very young player, super young player. So it's not something that is in his prime yet, but not something that is in his prime yet. But yeah, so it's not something that is in his prime yet. He's still a super young player, you know. But it's good to get a player when he's highly rated. It's not when the wheels are start, the wheels are start falling off. Then they find Nigeria. Like there's a player we know, like Shola Muobi. He didn't want to play for Nigeria initially, but until England didn't have time for him. Then until England didn't have time for him anymore, then he decided that he wanted to play for Nigeria. Then he decided that he wanted to play for Nigeria. So I'll share my screen in a minute. They have several reports. National striker Chizaram Ezenwata celebrated his maiden invitation to Nigeria's under-20 national team. The Flying Eagles and Stars scoring spectacular goal for Chelsea in a 2-0 victory over Young FC. So the reports have been everywhere. So for me, super excited that he is committed his future to Nigeria. That's nice to see. Wonder what your thoughts and opinions are about that one. Okay, I'm done with this one. So he's committed his future to Nigeria, and possibly who could be playing for the under-20 side that will be playing in the under-20 World Cup in Chile. So this is an improvement. This is one way you improve that starting lineup. Remember, when we're all following the under-20 World Cup, we all complain, about the entire team. And nice to see you have some competition between himself and Ayodele Korabo. Nice to see. Nice one. Just some opinions on all of this. And then whilst we're still talking about young players. We need to talk about another player, Nigeria eligible player that scored for Rangers, Glasgow Rangers, and I talked about him before. He is Emmanuel Fernandez. He scored for Rangers in their 4-2 victory in the Scottish League Cup. So that's a nice one to see. Nice one to see. And I've said before, this is a time where the Nigerian Super Eagles, the NFF, the National Sports Commission, the Nigerian National Sports Commission should begin to look for successors to some defenders that are aging up. You know, like William Ekong. We know he's been a very good servant for the club. We know he's been a super consistent for the club. I know everyone keeps going on about the error, the mistake he made. At least he partly contributed to the goal Nigeria conceded against Zimbabwe. But overall, in Nations Cup, he was super consistent. I think he won player of the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the time, and he's already said this AFCON is his last AFCON. The AFCON that will be taking place, on the taking place December to January, December of 2025, spilling into January of 2026, and we'll be having watch-alongs for the AFCON games on here, as well as panel discussions on here. Saying that if you want to be part of those panels, let me know in the comment section, and we'll get that sorted out. So this is the time to find replacements, to find successors rather for William Ekong, Semia Jai, and the likes. And Emmanuel Fernandez is proven to be, a top candidate. See what he's doing for Rangers. He's not the only one. There are other defenders as well. I think should be looked at, should be considered. But he's doing himself no disservice by how he's been playing for Rangers. So let's see how that all, shakes down, in my opinion. So let's go through the topics we've talked about so far. First off, Chizaram Ezenwata commits to play for Nigeria. Beautiful news. Let me know your opinions on that one. We talked about Alvin Okoro, signing for Juventus. It's obviously eligible to play for Nigeria. Alvin Obinna Okoro, signed for Juventus, 4+1 deal, initially a loan with an option, I think, obligation to buy. So good move overall. And I've said the only slight thing that makes me give this move a side eye is it's not for the first Juventus team, it's for the sort of developmental squad. So he gets to play in the developmental squad. But who knows? That may be the part where I think Kenan Yildiz, I think that's where he played before sort of progressed into the Juventus first team. So, and Italian teams, just like German teams, are usually very frugal with their spending. They're usually very tight-fisted when it comes to spending money. So I think that's good in a way, because since they spent resources on him, one thing's for sure, they're going to do that to make sure he has value and will play for the club, as opposed to English clubs. They have a lot of money, so an English club doesn't mind spending £30 million on a player, and then by January that player could be on the market looking for a move to other clubs. So thoughts and opinions about Alvin Okoro's move, and I'll be doing a reaction video to the player, as well as Chizaram Ezenwata. I'll be doing a reaction video as well for that player. And then we also talk about David Akintola making a big move after years in the Turkish league. He's made a big move to English football, joining Championship side Hull City, and possibly they could be one of the prime candidates for promotion. But of course, you always have those teams that drop down from the Premier League who are always seen as favorites for immediate promotion, or automatic promotion to back to the Premier League. So, but overall, good move for him, and I hope he's not been signed as some sort of backup or makeshift striker. He's signed as someone that actually come into play. So super excited for that one, and I hope he actually crushes it there. I think he has all the attributes to really shine there. He's got the pace, he's got the power, he's got the skill to really make a difference there. So happy days for him. that he's moved there. And there's one player I want to talk about. Nigeria will create lots of players. I already had a video about him on the channel, so you can go check it out. But I'll be doing a reaction video for that player as well. So you have to get to know when all these videos will come up. You have to click the notification bell so you notify when a video goes on live and when a pre-recorded video as well is posted on the channel, so you can easily be one of the first people to catch up with that video. Now, his name is Ayodele Thomas. I used to call it Thomas Ayodele, but it's Ayodele Thomas, and he plays for PSV Young, so that is their junior team, the academy team. So that's where the likes of Noni Madueke, that's where he used to play for before he left, before he got promoted to the first team, and then impressed enough to get him moved to Chelsea, and now has obviously got a move to, and now obviously has moved on, has now moved on to Arsenal. So Ayodele Thomas. I'm going to share my screen in a minute so we can just have a look at the player, and I'll actually have a reaction video about this player later on. But I'll just share my screen so we can see the player. I'm sure for those of us who may not know the player, I'll just put this on, and here we go. So Ayodele Thomas. I've watched a bit of him. Obviously, he's super talented. He's got skills. He's got skills. He's got pace, and he's someone that likes to play on the left. He's right-footed, and as with modern wingers nowadays, is playing on the left. You've got pace. You play from the left. You've got pace. You've got skill, as opposed to orthodox wingers that we used to growing up, where you're a left-footed player, you play from the left. You're a right-footed player, you play from the right. But now it's the other way around. So he's a left-sided winger. Super exciting. I've watched some clips of him. Very, very skillful. He's got flair. And things that you see, players do in Premier League. He does it, but obviously he's playing at a lower level. So the question is, can he take that to the next level? But from what I've seen of the player, I think he's a special player. Alongside the likes of Samuel Edozie, Rio Ugumoha, those are players that we should be looking at. You can't tell me that all of these players just slip through your fingers because of arrogance or whatever excuse people like to put out there, So for Samuel Edozie that talks about him, that talks about Samuel Edozie, signing for the Strasbourg, RC Strasbourg in the French Ligue 1. But there's also some reports saying he's more interested in playing for Club Brugge. I don't know why that is. Maybe because he's been on loan to in the Belgian league. He used to play for what they call them now, Anderlecht. He used to be on loan at Anderlecht from Southampton, and maybe that's why he's more keen to play there. I have my personal reasons why I wanted to play for Strasbourg, which is because Strasbourg is sort of a sister club to Chelsea, and he could have an opportunity to play for Chelsea if he performs well there. But after that, I want him to go to a club where he can actually shine and actually thrive. So if he's Strasbourg, fine. If he's Anderlecht, back at Anderlecht, fine. If he's back at Club Brugge, fine. But I want him to go to where he can actually play. And the good thing with going to Strasbourg or Club Brugge is that he gets to play European football either way. So we have serious talents coming up, both homegrown within the context of Nigerian grassroots football and those who are dual nationals. So there shouldn't be any excuses. And one thing I want to say about what's his face now, Eric Chell, he's been said he's a super exciting player, like to play exciting football, free-flowing football. But come on, man, let's not shift away from our wing football, because wing football, that is what Nigerian football has always been known for. Pius Ikedia, Finidi George, Adokia Messimaka. Nigerian football has always been grounded or built on wing play, where you have super exciting wingers. I don't want us to shift away from that. I've seen him use Chukwueze in the Unity Cup playing Chukwueze centrally, sort of like a 10 role behind the striker. Well, that's good. But I want to see my wingers with pace, with skill, making defenders look silly. That's something I want to see. And you have this talent, your Rios of this world, your Samuel Edoziers, your Ayodele, Thomas. So you have these players like this who are, super exciting. So you should have wing play. You should use these exciting players that you have, as opposed to wanting to overly bend the system. Overly bend the system. So let me talk some opinions on all this that we've talked about so far. Talked about Chizaram Ezenwata, looking to play for, agreeing rather to commit his international future to Nigeria. What are your thoughts about that? Is this something you're excited for? Is this something that is something that you love to see? We've talked about Alvin Okoro moving to Juventus. Also talked about David Akintola. Talk about David Akintola moving to Hull City. So, what are your thoughts and opinions on that one? So what are your opinions on these various transfer news items that we've talked about? And then, of course, we talked about Fernandez scoring for Glasgow Rangers. In fact, let me just ask this. Which defenders out there do you think can and should replace what's his face now? It's on the tip of my tongue. But who do you think should replace William Ekong? Because he said it, he's come up to say this is his last AFCON. We should replace him. I see Alessandro Macandeli as an option. I see Igor Ogbu also is already in the team as an option. He's already in the Super Eagles, so that's fine. I've seen David Odogu as an option as well. So looking at this option, because Tosin, they talk about Tosin right now is all cloak and dagger right now. No one really knows, is he committed? We're hearing reports that he's committed. We're hearing on the good side of it, we're not hearing any reports that sort of denounce the report that he's committed to playing for Nigeria. But right now, it's not yet been as concrete as this one. But although waiting for official announcement from the Nigerian Football Federation with respect to Chizaram's move to play for Nigeria. But a lot of reports have come out there. A lot of sports sites that follow Nigerian football have talked about it. So I'm buying 100%. So who do you think should replace William Ekong as the defender, as the new defender for Nigeria? For me, Tosin is the number one candidate. Igor Ogbu is in the team, so I'd like to see him paired up with Tosin. Igor Ogbu and Tosin would be a phenomenal pairing, in my opinion, because Igor Ogbu brings that aggression. He brings that, power play. He has the pace. He can play those sweet balls as well. But Tosin gives you that command in that centre-back position, and he can really spread those passes. So it's really exciting to see Tosin fully come out to commit the future to Nigeria. And I think he's at the right age right now where he can bring that experience to the table. He's 27, so he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's experienced, ready to go. So I think he and Igor Ogbu would be a very good partnership. And this is the time for him to come in. So the pressure is not immediately on his shoulders. You would have the likes of what's his face slightly ahead of him. That's just Ekong in front of him. And then after this AFCON, and then maybe after the World Cup, if Nigeria is able to qualify. Speaking about that, we've not heard anything about this points deduction. I just hope no funny business is going on, because this should be clear. This should be simple. It should be simple, straightforward. South Africa played a Mokoena that was ineligible to play because she was meant to be suspended from playing that game. It should be automatic, normal. Boom, 3 points and 3 goals deducted from South Africa. But I don't know why we're having all these smoke screens. No one's hearing anything. We keep hearing looming, looming, looming. I don't know what they want us to do with looming. They say 3 points deduction looming for South Africa. That was how many months ago, and in 2 weeks' time, we're having a World Cup qualifiers. So I'm tired of this. It's looming, it's looming, it's looming. Let the hammer fall and let those points get deducted, because Nigeria, we have suffered that, and rightly so, because we played a player that was ineligible to play that game, and rightfully so, Nigeria got points deduction. So that should also apply for South Africa in this circumstance. It should really, really apply. And even if that happens, Nigeria still has responsibility to do the job. That just means that winning South Africa becomes a whole lot more, becomes even more so important. So Eric Chell should make sure he gets his house in order in terms of how he wants to set up the team. For me, I don't even quite know why, he decided to. Yeah, Moritz. Deneso Dinonso says Moritz, Jens, Felix Lokai, Nnamdi Collins, Kevin Akpoguma should be ahead of him. Nnamdi Collins, that boy is special. I must say so. Nnamdi Collins is special. And one of the things that I look at when I say some players are special is how dynamic a player is in his role. What is that special thing he does in his role that you don't really see people in that role do? Now, I'm not saying he's as good as this player I'm mentioning, but I'm not saying he's as good as this player I'm mentioning, but that's when I look at that player, I look at what made him special, I look at him and see what makes him special, then I have to say this. Lucio, I don't know how many of us remember Lucio, the Brazilian defender. Now, he used to get the ball, run at opponents, dribble, do step overs from defense. And then sometimes play some line breaking pass, sometimes score goals. For me, that made him special. That made him special, in my opinion. I say Maurice says again, Dinon, so same thing, should be ahead of him. And if they pledge it, okay, no AFCON for Ekong. Well, he's going to play. He's going to play. That's no, we are not going to dodge away from that, because he's committed to playing for Nigeria. So he's going to play, and he's the captain already. So I think he will play the AFCON. Because if you want to bench him right now, who plays? Like, who do you put ahead of him? Because let's face it, though we've heard a lot of talk, a lot of rumors about Tosin getting to play for Nigeria, but we've not heard like something really concrete from his own end. I want him to play for Nigeria, don't get me wrong, and these other guys that you've mentioned, waiting on them to play, like Nnamdi Collins, that's one person that right now I would sell my red heart for him to play for Nigeria, because he's that special. Seeing his pace, the way he can take the ball from midfield, from defense to attack, and his versatility as well. He's someone that he's a center back, but he can drift out, if you know what I mean. He can drift out to that right back slot. And in modern football, coaches like to see players who are dynamic, that can play in a variety of areas, that can be flexible within a system. And I think if you have maybe an Olaino playing that right back, if you have Olaino playing that right back and you're playing super attacking football, right? And you're playing super attacking football, then Nnamdi Collins can drift out to be a wide right centre back that can help progress the ball from there. So I think in that regard, that's why I would want Nnamdi Collins in the team. So Mauritanians, Felix Lokai, and for me, what they call him now, that's Toru Ariga. Toru Ariga, Jordan Toru Ariga, I don't think it's all been all too good enough. And to be fair to him, if I'm completely honest, even when he has been invited, he's not been given that opportunity to play. But even if he's given the opportunity or not, I still think the likes of Nnamdi Collins, Tosin Aderobayo are ahead of him, in my opinion. And one other thing that Nigeria must consider as well is physicality. We need physicality in that center defense. In that defense, Igor will give you physicality 100%. I think Tosin will also give physicality in that defense. David Akintola would give physicality in that defense as well. He's 6'4", so he's 6'4", yeah. So he gives you that immediately. Makandele gives you that as well. He's 6'5", he's 6'6", but I think it might be a bit touchy to get Makandele to consider playing for Nigeria. His mom is Nigerian, his dad is Italian, and he said he's torn between both clubs. He's torn between both countries. So let's see how that shakes down. But for me, I go for Nnamdi Collins, Tosin Aderobayo. Those are the players that would really come in. They really cause an impact, really cause a change in the defense. And of course, let's not forget Vince Osuji. Let's not forget about him as well. Although he's not the tallest of centre backs, but I think he's someone that can also make a difference. These are people that you should be looking at. So, questions. We've talked about a lot of topics on here. I want to know what you think about Chizaram Ezenwata choosing to play for Nigeria. Talk some opinions on that one. What do you think about that? The next person from Chelsea that I would want Nigeria to look at, you've got Chizaram Ezenwata, for me, would be Tyreek George. I know a lot of people like to criticize him, but I think he even has more tools than the person that starts right now for Chelsea, than Gittins. Gittins is a young player as well, but I think he has more tools than Tyreek George has more tools in his tool belt. And Nigeria should begin to look at how we integrate players, how we integrate players in the national team. Some players, because first off, we need to recognize the fact that the way that players progress from Nigerian domestic football is not the easiest way. You rarely see a 17-year-old, 18-year-old progress and play for the Premier League, the Nigerian Premier League team. The player has to go through all these pathways where you go to a Norwegian second division club and things like that. So sometimes when you see a player like Onyebuchi Obasi playing for Valerenga, it's not because he's not good enough. It's because he's had to follow a path that the Nigerian football system has set in place for these players. So players like him should be looked at 100%. Alvin Okoro should be looked at. Now, I'm not saying immediately you come in, you play the team. No, have a look at them, follow their career, see how they progress, and then you begin to see how you integrate them. Now, there's a video I did about Rio Ugumoha, and people I think someone said, does he even know that he's Nigerian? Of course. Of course he does. Of course he does. So of course he does. Of course he does. I think there was a quote somewhere where he actually talked about the fact that look at his history. Because sometimes when you say things, people want to argue so much. But I'll share my screen and show it that he's share with people. You say things, people argue and say things. So this is it right here. So it says here that Rio Ugumoha is a 16-year-old British Nigerian footballer, currently plays for Liverpool FC. He was born in England to Nigerian parents. He has Nigerian heritage, able to represent both England and Nigeria in international football. he has represented England at under 15, under 16, and under 17 levels. Here's more information. Family background. Rio's parents are Nigerian immigrants. His parents are Igbo origin from southeast Nigeria, according to social media posts. That football career joined Liverpool and all the stuff. Potential of playing for Nigeria. Despite playing for England at youth levels, he's still eligible to play in Nigeria in international football. International football. So we can see that. Then Dinonso says George is a better choice and talent from the left for Chelsea. Now he's young, of course, just like Gittins that plays in that left wing is young as well. But I think, and here, although Gittins has more first team experience because he went to Germany to play for Dortmund, and he's had a lot of game time playing for Dortmund, right? But when you look at the way Tyreek George plays, he's got that confidence to keep the ball down and go at your man, try to dribble the player, try to get past the player. So that's one thing that he does have, and I think he is the better player, talent wise. But I think a coach like Enzo Maresca and the Chelsea board probably will lean towards Gittins because he has more experience. And remember, once the club spends money on a player, then they would want to see what they spend their money on. Unlike Tyreek George that has grown through the academy, they haven't really spent any much on him. So even if he's sold for £1,000,000 right now, it will be profit to them. Even if he sold for, let's say, £5,000 right now, it will be profit to them. It will be pure profit. So they really don't have any sort of downside if he leaves. So that's it. So, but overall, he's another player that I think Nigeria should look at. The thing for me is, and people keep saying, do you want all these players to play for Nigeria? Yeah, I do if I have my way. But just by the law of averages, that will not happen. Like, all these players can play for Nigeria, all of them. But one thing I've always been advocating against is Nigeria being a dumping ground. Yeah. When you have these super talented players, these ones that are super exciting, that everyone in the world is looking at, everyone wants, you let them slip through your hands, and then someone playing, for a mid-table championship side who is now 29 years, with maybe 3 goals and 2 assists in his whole career, then that's the one you go for. That's the one you want to play for the country. Just like Shola Amuobi. Shola Amuobi had gone past his best completely before he was brought in to play for Nigeria, and he contributed nothing. And I've always said this: Ademola Lookman is Nigeria's second most important player behind Victor Osimhen. He's skillful, brilliant on the ball, goals, assists, pacey, can come up clutch like he did in the Nations Cup. But the way he got to play for Nigeria is not the strategy you want. You can't use that as a sustainable strategy to get players. Because at some point, England looked at him and said, this career isn't going anywhere. He went to Italy, improved himself, became the super talented, super special player that he's become, and then he fell onto the laps of the Nigerian Football Federation. But if you want to get those top, highly rated young players, you must be intentional about it. And I must applaud them how they've got Chizaram Ezenwata. I must applaud them for this. And also, just to say this as well, other players, Destiny Limogale plays at Juventus. He's another one that should be looked at. Wisdom Mike plays for Bayern Munich. I've done videos of other players. He should be another one that should be looked at, in my opinion. because we need those special players. And for me right now, age shouldn't be an issue. Right now, age should not be an issue. Oh, he's 17. No. We are seeing more and more young players emerging and playing for their senior national teams and being involved in their senior national teams. Yes, Rodrigo Mora, Portuguese, 18 years. He's already involved in the Portuguese national team setup. There's Gilberto Mora that plays for Mexico. He's already 16, I think, playing for the senior national team of Mexico. Playing for the senior national team of Mexico. Of course, there's Lamine Yamal that started this. He's playing 17, I think, when he started playing for the Spanish senior national team. So the age thing right now is out the window. If they're good enough, if they're impressive enough, if they've got the skill enough, get them in. Get them in. Just like Ugumoha, there's no need to say you want to keep him. No. And one thing that I always like to say, of course, we are proudly Nigerian, right? But let's know how the world perceives Nigeria, how these players may have been indoctrinated to perceive Nigeria. So you need to be on the front foot. The way England would want to convince a player to play for them is different. It's just like club sides. I've said it before. It's like club sides. The way a Chelsea want to convince a player is different from the way, let's say, a championship side want to convince a player. That's a superstar youngster. The club in the championship may say, we can give you game time, we'll build the team around you, and be more aggressive and be like that. Chelsea can say you can play Champions League football, you can compete for Premier League title, which is the sort of highest title in English football. So Nigeria, we can say we can give you game time. You can be one of the main guys in the team. You can have minutes, even if you don't play all 90 minutes, but you can have minutes. You can get to play in the World Cup, you can get to play in the AFCON. And we have to know that this one thing we want to avoid with this Nigerian team is for everybody to get old at the same time. And there's a risk of it. If you look at the age of Ademola Lookman, Victor Osimhen, if you look at how their ages are, Victor Osimhen is 26, next year will be 27. Ademola Lookman is 27, next year will be 28. So if you look at how their ages are, they may just get old at the same time, and then you begin to, where are we getting players from? So thanks so much for watching. But if you just join the stream, you're just watching, you're new to this channel, just discovered it, thank you for joining. Please hit the subscribe button and notification bell as well to notify when a video like this comes on the channel. And topics we've been talking about like of Chizaram Ezenwata committing his international future to Nigeria. Also, we have been talking about Alvin Okoro signing for Juventus, even if he gets to initially play first for Juventus next gen, which is like their allied development squad, where obviously if he impresses there, he then gets to play for the main Juventus team. And I think the likes of Kenan Yildiz, that exciting left-sided winger for Juventus, that's where he played first before he got promoted to the main Juventus team. And then we've talked about like Samuel Edozie having to decide where he wants to move. There was interest. I think Southampton had accepted a bid from French Ligue 1 side Strasbourg, but for some reason that deal isn't yet done. There's also talk about him being linked to Club Brugge in Belgium. The talks are he loved this time while he was on loan at Anderlecht in Belgium, so maybe he will want to go back there. Let's see what happens. For me, either club he moves to, whether it's Strasbourg, whether it's Strasbourg or Club Brugge, is fine as long as he gets to play. That's the main thing. He gets to play and shows what he's all about. So for me, that's what we want to see. And then, of course, talking about David Akintola signing a deal with Hull City, to be a player there. And he's 29 years old, so this might be his last chance alone. This last chance for a big move, big deal. Hopefully he gets both, but more importantly, in my opinion, I hope he really gets to perform very well, score tons of goals there, gets the attention of Eric Chell, and also helps Hull City gain promotion to the Premier League. And speaking about age, you saw what the likes of Jamie Vardy did, 28, 27, and still playing now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but at least he played well into his 30s. So maybe that can be some inspiration for David Akintola. That could be an inspiration for him to just let you know that 29 years doesn't mean your career is over and you can still progress forward. And maybe, who knows, he can force his way, if he really, really performs well, force his way into, the thinking of Eric Chill. Let's see how that all shakes down. We've also talked about the likes of Ayodele Thomas. Ayodele Thomas is another special talent. I think he's able to play for Holland and Nigeria at this point in time. And he plays for PSV Young, that is the junior side of PSV in the Dutch Eredivisie. So he's a player I've looked at. I've done a video about him where I just spotlighted the player. He's a very exciting player, believe me. He's an exciting player. So now, NFF, whatever magic you did with Chizaram Ezenwata, go and do that same magic with this player. Go and do the same magic in this with this player, because he's a super exciting player, I tell you. And one thing I've said, who might say you're talking about all these players? Let's not forget, this squad is aging. It's aging. You might not know it. Victor Osimhen, 27 next year. We just talked about Tosin, who is going to be his replacement. Tosin is already in his 30s, if I'm not mistaken. So, who is going to be his replacement? One thing we want to avoid is this, where the team just ages, just gets old at the same time, and then everyone goes crazy. And I ask the question, who will be your candidate to replace William Ekong? I've talked about Tosin. Then also in the chats here, I talked about Maurice Jens, talked about Felix Udokai, talked about Nnamdi Collins, Kevin Akpoguma. All these are good candidates as well. I've talked about David Odogu as an option because it's a massive unit, 6'4". We have to talk about physicality. We have to. That's something you have to take into consideration, because a lot of times when Nigeria plays in the World Cup, not even the World Cup, plays in AFCON, physicality is an issue. Height is an issue. Let's face it, having all the technique in the world is good. Having all the ability in the world is good. But sometimes it just comes down to physical prowess, athletic ability. So you need to get someone who is physical to come into that defense, especially with Ekong possibly playing his last competition, this AFCON, if Nigeria doesn't qualify for the World Cup. And even if Nigeria qualifies for the World Cup may be his very last tournament, or maybe he doesn't even get to play in the World Cup. So you need to get very good replacements in the building. So I think those are the main things that we have had for discussion today. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about that. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this video topic we've discussed today. So at this point, I've come to the end of this live stream, and I'll see you on yet another video. Stay well, stay blessed. Bye-bye.